if you are at this point of the show, you probably know that we are going to talk about today's latest AAA or AA game. I think Adam's going to fill us in on what Soul Hackers 2 would be.
Probably more. I mean, it's
AAA.
Atlas, but I don't know if I'd call it a AAA game.
So, yeah, I don't know. You can fill us in. So we're talking about this today. And this is something I know very little about, despite having read about it. And having read about it, I still feel like I still don't know enough. But Adam's going to fill us in on his usual first take, and then Antoine, and then myself.
Yeah, so there's very little given on actual story so far. If you go to, I think it's Atlas Tube, which is the YouTube channel for them, they have just a ton of videos that's featuring a bunch of the different demons that you can get in the game and giving you backgrounds on them and stats and whatnot. It is mostly in Japanese, but some of the videos have subtitles. Not all of them do. So you're going to have to kind of go around and check those out. But basically, this is a sequel to Soul Hackers, which is part of the Shin Megami Tensei series. And the original one, I think, was the 5th game in the... No, or maybe this one is the 5th game in the series. I'm not sure, but this is the first sequel in the series. So this is kind of like your... like say Final Fantasy X2 or whatever, where it's a sequel to another game in the series where the series isn't necessarily all related. And basically in the original one, what happens is there's a company that creates this network, and the network is super successful. So Japan hires them to put it everywhere in Japan. And there's one guy who's a hacker who goes online, and he can basically, in this online world, hack into demons and whatnot. And the original one, you would go through labyrinths, and then you can meet demons, and you can fight them, or you can negotiate with them. And if you negotiate with them, you can basically somehow convince them to join your side. So you can do things like giving them gifts or having conversations or whatever. And if you convince them to have your side, then you can summon them in battle. And in battle, they have 5 different, basically, element types. So normally we're used to the 4 earth, wind, fire, and water. Those are the Greek elements. I don't know if they're following the Chinese elements or the Indian elements or which ones, but I know both the Chinese and the Indian have 5. Chinese is wind. No, there's not wind. Chinese is water, fire, wood, metal, and earth, and Indian is earth, wind, water, fire, and void. So I'm not sure which one, or if it's an entirely unique one, I don't know, but the demons all have their own affiliations, and there hasn't been too much on gameplay for the new one, so I don't know if they're going to follow this, but I would assume they would. But in the original one, what you can do is each demon has its own affinity, and it works really well with other demons of the same affinity, and other affinities it might not get along with too well. So the way you get them to work together is you have to build up their loyalty, and you can build up their loyalty by doing things that they like, or issuing them orders that they like, or you can have them auto attack and they'll do what they want. And so by doing these things, you can build up your affinity with them, and eventually you can combine them into newer demons. So you can take 2 demons, combine them together, get a more powerful demon, and that sort of thing. So it's got a lot of these kind of intricate mechanics on, putting everything together and getting everybody to work together. So that's really interesting. Now, in terms of story, I think you're going to get pretty much your typical JRPG. I don't think you're going to, in that kind of series, where it's not going to be kind of this grandiose thing like, say, Legend of Dragoon or something where you're scouring across the world. I think it's mostly going to be pretty much one overworld, and then, you're going through dungeons, and each dungeon you're going to encounter things in it. So it's going to be similar to a lot of recent JRPGs, like, was it Neo, The World Ends With You? Or, technically it's a Taiwanese RPG, but what was that one I played a while ago? I can't remember the name anymore. But, like in there, they had a hub world, and then you play in the hub world, and you interact with people. You go to the restaurants, you eat, you talk to your friends, and then you go to the dungeon.
Nexus?
No, not Scarlet Nexus. It was Dusk Diver. Dusk Diver. I played that like the
Taiwanese game.
Yeah, the Taiwanese game, like right when we started, which was very similar to Akiba's Beat in a lot of ways. So in these games, you have that hub world, you know, and you can go to different shops or whatever and talk to people that you know, and then you go into the dungeons, and then you play the dungeon, then you go back to your hub world. You know, you're not spanning across an entire continent like you were in older JRPGs, like Lunar or Legend of Dragoon or the older Final Fantasies or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna be more like that, but then it has a lot of these intricate mechanics in battle. They've done videos on introducing the new characters and some of the things that they do, and then obviously you can bring in the demons, and certain demons have different personalities as well. So you have ones that are friendlier and don't want to fight, so they would rather sit back and heal, and if you get them to heal and stuff like that, they'll be very happy. And if you tell them to attack or hurt somebody, they're not going to be too happy about it. And if their loyalty is too low, they'll actually either not follow your command and do something completely different, or they might even just sit there and do nothing. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how it is. And like I said, there hasn't been too much gameplay reveal yet. Mostly it's been featuring the demons. So I'm looking forward to seeing more story reveal stuff to see how that goes. Because I'm not sure how closely related it is to the first one either, because the characters are different. So yeah.
Antoine, what's your take?
So, as usual, I'll just go back to the basics first, because Shin Megami Tensei is mainly Japanese IP. It's out in the West, but it's not super famous. But just for you to know that this is a main title, and Megami Tensei 5 was released in 2021. But this main title made a lot of babies that you would know, for instance, as Persona. Persona 5 is part of the Megami Tensei, and you can relate there. JRPG, demons, you're in the same universe, right? So here we are talking about Soul Hacker, which is part of the same franchise and same IP as Megami Tensei, Persona, all of this. And the first game was released in 1997, which is quite old, because this is only the sequel in 2022.
Yeah.
Released August 26th, if there's no delay. Produced and released, and so created and produced by Atlus. All of these are made by Atlus and also produced by Sega, I think. Because
this one's produced by Sega.
Yeah, exactly. Both Atlus and Sega, they need some money, I guess. So yeah, quite famous franchise, and we'll see what it comes out. But I never played first one, so I have no idea what it is really. So we'll see what it looks like. All this demon summoning really makes you think of Persona. All the graphic design made me really think it was a Scarlet Nexus 2. I just looked at the trailer like just before the show, like, that's very similar, huh? But Scarlet Nexus is not that old, so I'm not gonna say they copied on it. They need some time to release a game and to build it, so I will say it's just a coincidence. Music-wise as well, it's very similar. Graphic and music. If you liked it, it's very likely. If you liked Scarlet Nexus, you will like this. At least this universe. After, in terms of gameplay, it's of course going to be very different. If you played Persona, you know that 90% of the game is text. So I don't know if Soul Hacker is going to follow the same pattern. But if you don't like to read, be careful. Just before buying it, pre-ordering it, check what you're getting into. Because I know a lot of people who like, yeah, Persona is supposed to be fantastic, I'm going to buy it. And after reading for ages, like, yeah, no, I'm bored. So, it's for some people. It's not for Korean, for instance. Very likely, I would like it. Korean won't. So just make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into before pre-ordering it. Released on PS4, PS5, Xbox, and PC, which apparently Korean was telling me, and indeed I didn't find it. It's not on Steam yet. There's no Steam page for this game. I don't know why.
It did say it was going to be released on Steam, which I thought was strange. It makes me think that this Steam might have been an afterthought, which is why they said, yes, we're doing it on Steam, but maybe it's not going to come to Steam.
Yeah, maybe it'll be an Epic Games thing.
Maybe, because you can already pre-order it, but I didn't check on which platform you could. But just Google it and you'll find it pretty easily. So yeah, that's it for me. I have no clue what it's gonna be, but I really tend to think it's gonna be a Persona 5 kind of game, which is good. You know, it's a very, very good game, so you can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
Yep. My take is, I mean, the guys pretty much explained everything. Technical details, I couldn't find too much. I mean, pretty much standard PS5 pricing. PC as well. Like on the Wikipedia pages, it's coming to PC as well, but or Microsoft Windows, as it says in Wikipedia. But there's no listing anywhere that I could find. If you Google Soul Hackers 2,
And maybe on the Xbox store, because now Microsoft does a lot of stuff through on PC.
That would be strange if they did it on Windows, but they didn't do it on Steam.
I don't know.
And Microsoft has said, right, that they're doing games on Steam. Like they're no longer trying for these solo routes. So that's why I think it's just, this might have been like very similar to your aim issue on the PS5. Sniper Elite was just like, okay, we have X amount of budget. We're not going to optimize for aiming and use all the wonderful technical gadgetry the PS5 controller has, which is why the aiming sucks.
Witcher is another perfect example of that.
Yeah. And it's the idea of a lot of people are remote working, so progress and stuff is still quite slow. Not to mention a lot of people like to remote work, like myself. I don't want to go into an office ever again. So it's the way people do games, and the time and stuff is even like The Witcher 3 is supposed to have like a next generation patch, and that's been delayed by like another 3 to 4 months. So I can imagine this is the case for this game, but yeah, like when it comes down to story games, you guys already know because you've been listening to me and Adam, and then me, Adam, Antoine, and with Phil as well when he was on Regulate. I'm not the biggest story person, despite like having heard about Disgaea. You remember how to say it again?
Antoine says Disgaea. I say Disgaea. I've heard people say Disgaea, so I don't know.
I will copy you guys, Disgaea. And I've heard about that, and I've seen Persona and Persona Strikers. I'm like, oh man, these games look so cool, and people always rave about them on YouTube and social media. But then after Antoine said it's just text, I'm like, no.
It's very standard JRPG in that sense, very traditional.
Yeah,
even more than most.
Like Dragon Quest Builders has a lot of text in it, but it's just you can just like sort of press the button and skip all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, you could just scroll through it, but you'd have no idea what's going on story-wise.
Oh, then I wouldn't care. But like I already given up on Dragon Quest Builders after hour 20. I'm like, I don't care what you guys are talking about it, and because it's one of those games where it's just like, yeah, you go here, do this, and it tells you do it, and then the story behind it doesn't matter anymore. I'm playing for an hour. I don't care what you guys are talking about. Just if you tell me what to do, I'll just do it. That's fine. I don't need more than that. That satisfies me. There's no context for anything. That's okay. So, I mean, if that is the case, and when it comes down to story games, like, yeah, if I was to go on holiday somewhere for a week, I wouldn't mind a story game. But because I sort of limit myself to the amount of time I play games, I'm like, yes, I need satisfaction for my 1 hour. So that is why I don't like to do story like during the week or on the weekend, or basically pretty much anytime I'm not on like a long holiday.